Well now, let's turn our attention to a subject that has fascinated and perplexed mankind since the dawn of time. It's a force that shapes nations, builds empires, drives innovation, and at the same time can be the source of immense conflict and suffering. I'm talking about power. What an interesting word, isn't it? Just the sound of it evokes so many images, so many ideas. We see power in the headlines every day. The power of governments, the power of corporations, the power of movements. But I've often wondered, do we truly understand its nature? Is it merely the ability to command, to control, to accumulate? Or is there something deeper, something more fundamental to this thing we call power? That's what we're going to delve into today, a bit of a philosophical inquiry, if you will, into the very nature of power. Not in a dry academic sense, but in a way that perhaps sheds some light on how it touches our own lives, our own potential. Have you ever really stopped to think about what power truly is? It's one of those words we use all the time. But if you ask 10 different people, you might get 10 different answers. Some might say it's money. Others, position. Still others might point to force or authority. And those things, well, they can certainly be instruments of power, no doubt about it. But are they power itself? Or are they merely its outer garments, its visible trappings? It seems to me that one of the first things we must do in our inquiry is to look beyond some of the common misconceptions about power. It's easy to see power as simply domination, the ability to make others do what you want, whether they want to or not. That's the kind of power the bully wields in the schoolyard, or the tyrant on a larger stage. But how long does that kind of power last? It's built on fear, and fear is a shaky foundation. Sooner or later, people resist. True power, the kind that endures, must be made of sterner and perhaps gentler stuff. Another misconception is that power resides solely in a title, a position, or a hefty bank account. Now, these things can certainly give you leverage, open doors, provide a platform. But I've seen people in high positions who were essentially powerless, unable to inspire, unable to lead, unable to affect any real change. And I've seen individuals with no fancy title, no great fortune, who possessed an undeniable power, the power to influence, to motivate, to make things happen. So, while position and wealth can be tools, they are not the source, not the essence of power itself. And we've all heard that old saying, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's a truth in that, a warning. When power is misunderstood, when it's wielded without wisdom, without humility, without a strong moral compass, it can indeed become a destructive force. But the key here is tends to. It doesn't have to. Perhaps the corruption comes not from power itself, but from the flaws within the person wielding it. Flaws that are magnified when the stakes are high. So if power isn't just these superficial things, what is it? Let's try to peel back the layers. It seems to me there are many forms, many sources of genuine power. There's the power of position or authority, the kind that comes with a title: CEO, manager, team leader. This power gives you the formal right to make decisions, to direct resources. It's a necessary kind of power for any organization to function. But its effectiveness, its true reach, depends greatly on how it's used. Is it used to serve, to enable, to build? Or is it used to self-aggrandize, to control, to diminish? The position gives you the stage, but it doesn't write the script for a compelling performance. Then there's the far more subtle, and often more potent, power of influence and persuasion. This is the ability to move people, to inspire them to action, not through command, but through ideas, through vision, through the sheer force of your conviction and the clarity of your communication. Think of the great teachers, the great communicators, the great leaders who change the world, not by decree, but by persuasion. This kind of power is earned, not granted, and it tends to be much more lasting. And what about the power of knowledge and expertise? Francis Bacon famously said, "Knowledge is power." And isn't that true? When you know how to do something that others don't, when you understand the intricacies of a problem, when you have the information and the skill, that gives you a distinct advantage. That gives you power. The person who has studied, who has prepared, who has mastered their craft, possesses a power that can solve problems and create value. This is a power that often speaks for itself. Let's not forget the quiet yet immense power of character and integrity. This is the power that comes from being a person of your word, a person of principle, a person others can trust. It's not flashy, it's not loud. It's more like a strong magnet, drawing respect and loyalty without demanding it. When people know you stand for something, when they know you are reliable and true, they are willing to follow, to invest their faith in you. This kind of power is built slowly, day by day, choice by choice, and it's incredibly resilient. There's also the incredible power of purpose and vision. When an individual or a group is seized by a clear and compelling purpose, a vision of a better future, it unleashes tremendous energy. It gives direction. It fuels persistence in the face of obstacles. This power pulls you forward. It gets you up in the morning. It makes the difficult tasks seem worthwhile. People with a powerful purpose often achieve extraordinary things, simply because that purpose organizes all their other powers. And here's one that's foundational, one I've talked about for years: the power of discipline and self-control. This, to me, is where all true power begins. If you cannot manage yourself, your appetites, your emotions, your habits, how can you possibly hope to manage anything else effectively? The ability to make yourself do what you need to do, when you need to do it, whether you feel like it or not, that is a superpower. This is the power that builds skill, the power that maintains health, the power that forges character. It's the internal rudder that steers your ship. We should also mention the power of unity and collaboration. One person can be strong, but when people come together, aligned in purpose, their collective power is amplified many times over. Two are better than one, the old wisdom says. The ability to build teams, to foster cooperation, to create synergy. That's a remarkable form of power. It allows for the accomplishment of things no single individual could ever achieve alone. And finally, there's the enduring power of principles and truth. When you align yourself, your actions, your goals with timeless principles, with what is fundamentally right, just, and true, you tap into a power that is greater than yourself. These principles are like the laws of nature. You can try to fight them, but it's a lot easier and a lot more effective to work with them. Truth has a way of prevailing in the long run. Now, if we look at all these forms of power, there seems to be a common thread, especially in the ones that are most admirable and enduring. It seems that much of genuine power originates from within. This brings us to what I believe is the internal locus of true power. Power over self. This is the most fundamental, the most important power you can ever develop. The power to choose your attitude in any given set of circumstances. The power to govern your thoughts. The power to direct your actions. The power to respond rather than react. This is the power that no one can take away from you. Others can take your job, your money, your freedom even, but they cannot take your power to choose how you will respond to those circumstances. As I've often said, for things to change for you, you have to change. That's the assertion of personal power. Mastering yourself is the first and most crucial step to mastering any other aspect of your life or your influence in the world. Understanding the dynamics of power is also key. How is it acquired? How should it be wielded? And how is it lost? Genuine power, the kind that lasts, is rarely seized by force and held for long. More often, it's earned. It's earned through providing value, through building trust, through demonstrating competence, through serving others. It flows to those who are prepared, to those who take responsibility. And wielding power, that's where the true test of character lies. With power comes responsibility. The greater the power, the greater the responsibility. The fundamental choice is whether to use power for others, to uplift, to empower, to create, or to use it over others, to dominate, to exploit, to control. The temptation to misuse power is always there, which is why humility and a strong moral compass are so essential. And how is power lost? Often through arrogance, the belief that one is invincible. Through incompetence, failing to deliver on promises. Through the betrayal of trust, which is so hard to rebuild. Through failing to adapt to changing times, clinging to old ways when the world has moved on. Power, like a muscle, can atrophy if not used wisely. or it can be shattered by a foolish act. So, what's the philosophy here? Why should we even seek to understand or cultivate power? What is its legitimate purpose? I believe that power, in its best sense, is a tool. It's an energy. And like any tool or energy, its value is determined by its use. Fire can warm your home and cook your food, or it can burn your house down. The power itself is neutral. It's the intent, the wisdom, and the skill of the wielder that determines the outcome. The noblest purpose of power, it seems to me, is to make a positive difference, to improve things, to contribute to growth, to solve problems, to serve causes larger than oneself. When we seek power for these reasons, it takes on a different quality. It becomes less about me and more about we. We are all stewards of whatever power we possess, whether it's the power to influence one person or millions. And with that stewardship comes the obligation to use it wisely, ethically, and for the greater good. To whom much is given, the ancient wisdom reminds us, much will be required. And isn't that true for power as well? In conclusion, this philosophical inquiry into the nature of power isn't just an academic exercise. It has real-world implications for each of us. The first challenge, perhaps, is to cultivate that personal power, the power of self-discipline, the power of knowledge, the power of character. This is the foundation upon which all other effective and ethical uses of power are built. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job, as the saying goes, because what you become directly influences what you can achieve and how you can impact the world. Then, as you find yourself in positions of influence, whether great or small, the challenge is to wield that power with wisdom, with humility, and with a clear sense of purpose that extends beyond your own self-interest. Power is a part of the human experience. It's here. Understanding its nature, its forms, its responsibilities allows us to engage with it more consciously, more effectively, and hopefully more virtuously. Think about the power you already have, the power to choose, the power to learn, the power to influence those around you. How will you cultivate it? How will you use it, starting today, to make a positive difference in your own life and in the lives of others? The potential is there. The choice is yours.